Hey everyone, welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm your host, Sandra Babu-Boateng. Today we're diving into a heartbreaking story that's been making waves in the Nigerian and African community here in the U.S. It's the tragic story of Dr. Ikenna Erinne, a brilliant Nigerian-American cardiologist who committed suicide on January 26 after allegedly holding his ex and their two children at gunpoint for 3 hours. Now, I know this story has sparked a lot of conversation, some filled with judgment and others with sympathy. But here on The Breakdown, we're about going beyond the headlines to really understand the deeper issues at play. So today we're talking about mental health, family breakdown, and the dark side of divorce and custody battles, issues that we don't talk about enough in our communities, and which we are going to start talking about on this show. But before we dive in, if you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you and welcome to the family. If not, I invite you to join us, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another critical conversation like the one we're about to have. Now, I want to take a moment to say this. My heart truly goes out to the families and everyone affected by this tragedy. No matter how we look at it, this is a tragedy and a devastating situation for both families. For the family grieving the loss of a beloved son, for the two children who have lost their father, and for the woman at the center of this, who is likely carrying unimaginable pain and trauma and perhaps some guilt over an outcome she never anticipated. There are no winners in a situation like this. Many lives have been shattered, and I just want to acknowledge that real people, real families, and especially innocent children are living with the consequences. So, as we unpack this, I hope we can hold space for compassion, understanding, and grace, and approach this conversation from a place of learning and self-reflection rather than judgment or blame. So first of all, who was Dr. Ikenna Erinne? Dr. Erinne was a Nigerian from Anambra State, an Igbo man. He lived and practiced as a cardiologist in Maryland in the United States. He was only 36 years old, young, highly educated, and accomplished, a rising star in the medical field who had been practicing for about 10 years. His academic journey is nothing short of impressive. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry from Portland State University in 2009, then went on to earn his Doctor of Medicine from Morehouse College of Medicine. After medical school, he completed his postgraduate training at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, followed by a cardiovascular diseases fellowship at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. And then most recently, he did a program at Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons. By all accounts, he was licensed to practice medicine in multiple states and was regarded as a highly skilled physician. So naturally, people are asking, what would drive such an accomplished and seemingly driven man to take his own life? So what happened? While Dr. Erinne's professional life was soaring, it seems that his personal life was in turmoil. On January 26, 2025, Dr. Erinne died by suicide following a violent standoff where he allegedly held his ex-partner and their two children at gunpoint 3 hours before turning the gun on himself and ending his life. Reports reveal that Dr. Erinne was entangled in a bitter, prolonged custody battle with his ex, Suzanne Van Laere. He reportedly lost the case, with the court ordering him to pay $15,000 a month in child support, a figure many people debate as excessive, even for a cardiologist. Naturally, the online space exploded with speculation, finger-pointing, and rumors. Some called it a failure of the justice system. Others questioned his ex-partner's motives. And many more debated what drove him to such extremes. Today, we want to sort through the noise and really focus on what we actually know. So let's start with what we know about his relationship with his ex, right? And according to sources, there was a wedding invitation circulating online in 2020 announcing an upcoming traditional wedding ceremony between Dr. Erinne and Susette Van Leer, who, by the way, is also an Igbo woman. However, whether this wedding actually happened is unclear. So one woman who appears to be a close friend and perhaps a classmate of Ikenna wrote this on Facebook. She said, "So this Ikenna I know, and he did not marry a white woman. He had children with an Igbo girl, Frances Van Leer's daughter. They were not married because if he was, we will hear. He called off the wedding. Because of his family and that he is my own, I will honor his memory and wish him a good sail. Ikenna was always too quiet for his own good. So quiet, if you push Ikenna, he will walk away. One of the most intelligent students in my set. Imagine a set with so many intelligent top select students, then imagine being top 5 in that set. Ikenna was very quiet, unassuming, and a gift to his generation. My greatest sympathy lies with his family because I know what it takes to raise a son like Ikenna, from Navy to schooling in the USA, from bachelor's degree to becoming a cardiologist, only for it to end like this. May his soul find the peace that was denied him." In response to this post, the father, right, Suzette's father, which would be Dr. Ikenna's father-in-law, assuming they were married, and his name is Frances Van Leer. So he responded to this specific post by Amanda Chisom. And this is what Frances Van Leer said in his post. Amanda Chisom posted this on her page. "While there was a custody battle my daughter is involved in, and I only became aware last Monday morning about 3 a.m. Nigerian time that the deceased held her and her children at gunpoint for 3 hours after losing a custody battle." So here is the father confirming what we know, the reports. "The nanny managed to escape and called the police, and on arrival of the police, he shot himself dead. I guess he decided to kill himself instead of facing 3 counts of kidnapping with a deadly weapon, 25 years to life each. While I sympathize with his family for his death, my daughter is not responsible for him taking his own life, and I thank God it did not degenerate to where he shoots my daughter, grandchildren, and himself. May his soul rest in peace. Everyone is a loser here, and it is traumatizing for all." In another post, Frances Van Leer said, "Most Nigerians think with emotions, not with reality and fact. How is someone who never paid bride price for my daughter a son-in-law?" So this is where it gets questionable as to whether they actually married traditionally, right? He is even an Anambra man like me, and Anambra men are very proud with family. Hence, most women like them as they are generous. This one earning big money is refusing to pay ordinary $1,900 a month. Nobody should call him my son-in-law, for someone I have only seen 3 times. The Onyimbo that married my first daughter paid bride price. Check well. Anambra men do not KPAI themselves over family matter. They man up and pay, even if they have to do Yahoo to support their family. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack there from the dad. And there's some local language dialect here, but we'll try as best to break it all down. So while an actual marriage is yet to be confirmed, right? 'Cause the father is denying that, you know, the Dr. Erinne that was a bride price. So we don't know if they were actually married. What we can confirm is that they did have 2 children together. And following their separation, things just seemed to have taken a dark turn, which escalated into a contentious custody battle. And as for the $15,000 child support figure, many people questioned how such an amount was even determined. It seems like it was a lot. But Susette later responded publicly, giving her side of the story, right? And she posted this on IG. So I want to read it to you. This is Susette herself. She said, there are a lot of lies swirling around the internet right now, and it's impossible to address them all. For years, I have stayed silent as I have gone through a journey of character development, resilience, and obedience to God. My children and I had a near-death experience on January 26, and we are now on a journey of healing. Those who know me know that I have always taken care of my kids 100% of the time since their respective births. Those that know our situation know that their dad hasn't even lived in the same state as us for the majority of their lives. They know that my son is permanently disabled and has been in therapy 40 hours a week since he was 1 year old. They know that I have always been the primary financial provider for my kids. Always. My children and I will overcome. The worst night of our lives when we begged to live for 3 hours has been flipped around to make us look like villains. I have received dozens of text messages and calls threatening my life and my children's lives. This has to stop. I have videos, I have pictures, I have police documentation of multiple incidents. I don't want to take it there. This has to stop. Nobody knows someone like their partner. I respect the experiences and memories you had of him, and I do not seek to tarnish them. I know the truth. People that know me know the truth. What you think of me is not my business. Nigerians love gossip, but don't forget my children and I are real people trying to safely move on with our lives. We are already living through the results of years of anger and ignorance. Let's move forward with love. Hashtag domestic violence. So this is what Susette posted on IG. Now, when this happened, people also took to social media and started calling Susette, a gold digger, that perhaps she was only with Erinne for his money or she's trying to get his money. But, and some were even claiming that Dr. Erinne brought her from Nigeria and put her through school, paid for her education. But that's when the father, right, Susette's father, Van Lare, came to his daughter's defense again, posting this. He said, as some allege, and to correct some nonsense, my daughter was born in Long Island, New York, a full-blooded American citizen. She was not brought from Nigeria and sent to school by the dead cardiologist. Ooh. She won a full sports scholarship to athletics and almost represented the USA in 2012 Olympics in 100 meters and 200 meters. She is also an accomplished pianist and a trumpeter. She holds a Doctor of Medical Science degree. So father is saying, no, she's not a gold digger. She is successful. She is just as successful in her own right. And so the saga continued with the back and forth. Now, the details are truly heartbreaking, but they also open up tough conversations about mental health, family, conflict, and how community support can fail even the most successful people. Now let's talk about the bigger picture here, right? Being a high-achieving immigrant professional comes with enormous pressure. Many of us are raised on the idea that we must succeed at all costs, not just for ourselves, but for our families, our communities, and even our countries. Failure is often not an option. For African immigrants in America, especially Nigerians, there's this unspoken rule that you have to be excellent. The doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, the father. But what happens when personal life crumbles, when marriages fall apart, when custody battles strip you of what matters most? Often we suffer in silence because vulnerability is seen as weakness, and that silence can be deadly. Here's the thing. Mental health is still a taboo subject in many African communities. And the reason why I'm covering this story is because I think we need to break that cycle. We don't talk about depression, anxiety, or therapy. Instead, we say things like, oh, just pray about it. God's got it under control. You'll be fine. Yes, and prayer and faith are powerful, but they need to go hand in hand with professional help when necessary. If a successful doctor like Dr. Erinne could feel so cornered and hopeless, what does that say about the mental health support available to us? Another issue here is the trauma of custody battles. Anyone who has gone through a divorce or custody fight knows how brutal it can be. And I know so many people who have been impacted, lives completely transformed with, divorce and custody battles. And for men, especially African men raised in cultures that expect them to be strong and dominant, losing access to your children can feel like losing your entire identity. And I don't want this to be a case of who's right, who is wrong. Every feeling, every perspective truly matters when it comes to this. It's not about being a woman. It's not about being a man. But these conversations, we are not having these honest conversations about how to support both men and women equally, emotionally through these crises before it reaches a breaking point. So where do we go from here, my people? Dr. Erinne's story is a tragedy, but it doesn't have to be in vain. There's been a lot said about this situation, a lot of he said, she said, a lot of finger pointing, blaming, and honestly, at the end of the day, only those directly involved know their truth. Again, it's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's about their individual truths. Sadly, one of them is no longer here to share his side of the story because he chose to end his life. I do hope that in the future, I can bring you conversations or interviews with the family so we can all better understand what happened, and more importantly, so that we can learn and grow from this tragedy as a community. Let's use this moment to talk openly about mental health, family struggles, and the pressures of success. If you or someone you know is struggling, please seek help. You are not alone. Now, what's noteworthy about Dr. Erinne is that although he lived a short life, he touched so many lives, literally. I loved the memories posted to his memorial page, and I just want to read some of them with you. So we have one here, memorial shared by Sly Anyanwu, and this is what it says. You may have found yourself in a situation that only you did understand. And that was the only option that came to your mind at that troubling moment. This world may have failed you and may not care to understand your position. You are not here to tell your own side of the story, but I can feel your agonies, the pain, the frustrations, the emptiness, the psychological trauma, the loneliness that made your beautiful soul to cut short. May your beautiful soul rest in peace. I will always put you in my prayers. Go well. Good people are always the victims of the vicious people. We reap what we sow no matter what. And then Bertram Owete says, this is truly tough and challenging to understand. I met Ike only briefly last year, and I'm truly sorry to hear of this today. There are no words to give comfort except by the one whose words can indeed do anything to heal our pain without ignoring reality. May God speak words that truly comfort and encourage all those he has left behind. Here is a note from a colleague, Joseph Clark. I had the privilege of working with Ike at the OHSU vaccine and genotherapy lab. Even after a decade, I can still vividly remember his infectious smile, his laugh, and the way he always made me feel. And the way he always made me feel welcome when I hung out with him and his Nigerian friends. He was truly a wonderful man, and I am deeply saddened by his passing. My thoughts and heartfelt condolences are with your family during this difficult time. Dear Eka, we have one here from Amy, a friend. Dear Eka, you were hesitant to take this photo because of how you were dressed. And now it's the last photo and last time I saw you. You reminded me of Cinderella during that July 2023 road trip Getchi and I took to visit you all because your auntie asked you to do so many chores around the house, which you did with jokes, laughter, and endless energy to help others. Gatherings will not be the same without your presence. May your soul be at peace. And one here from Ibiso, who said, I don't know what happened or the pain and fears you must have faced alone, but I can't stop thinking about it. My heart aches for what you went through. And I hope wherever you are, you somehow know just how deeply you were loved by your family, friends, and all who had the privilege of knowing you. You deserve so much more. Here's one from Obim. Death cuts across all ages. Young Blacks of immigrant parents are not equipped to deal with the hostilities of being different. We raise them with education as the ultimate. However, their other needs suffer. This death exposes a need in our community to cushion the frustrations our children are exposed to. Dr. Erinne's death should open our hearts to other needs beyond money and education. May his courageous soul rest in peace. So this is how the world should remember Dr. Erinne, right? A man who touched so many lives and made his mark here on earth, although his time was short. Now, no one is perfect here on earth. None of us is perfect. None of us should be pointing fingers. None of us understand the situation, what happened. None of us do. But as I said, it is important that we talk about it so we can understand how we can better support ourselves. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this story? What do you think needs to change in our communities to prevent tragedies like this? Drop your comments below and let's have a real conversation respectfully. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because here on The Breakdown, we are not afraid to tackle the hard conversations. That's it for today's breakdown. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, take care.